Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. This week's video is a time-lapse of a commission that I recently completed. So today I'm just going to explain my process and my thoughts on this piece, and I also have a couple of announcements to make. The first thing I wanted to say is thank you so much for everybody who has subscribed. We have reached 100 subscribers. In fact, I think right now we're at 106 or maybe 107. This is all very exciting for me. I hadn't quite expected to reach 100 subscribers at all. I'm not sure if any of you know, but I really struggle with talking on the microphone and doing voiceovers, but I have been really pushing myself to work on this in order to make my content more interesting and to give you some more insight about my process and materials that I use. I also doubted my perseverance in making and uploading videos regularly or at all, and I'm surprised that 100 of you and maybe a few more are interested enough in my content to keep subscribing, so that's really great. I'm really happy, and thank you once again for subscribing and watching my videos. So if you guys have any ideas of what I could do to celebrate this milestone, please leave them in the comments below. I was thinking perhaps trying out a couple of challenges maybe. So if you have any ideas for some fun art challenges, not fart challenges, but fun art challenges, please leave them down below and I'll see what I can do. My next announcement is that I plan on trying to upload every weekend. I don't have a set date yet, but Saturday, Sunday, possibly Monday, I know that's not a weekend, but around those times every week I will be trying to upload a video. I know it's a fairly loose schedule, but before I tried to upload twice a week and that really didn't work. I find that putting myself on such a strict schedule like that is very kind of restraining, and I don't feel motivated to make the content. This way also means that I can do my best to make sure that the content is as high quality as I possibly can make it, and also means that I can do other art outside of my YouTube channel. Speaking of which, if you're interested in following along with more of my art and the art that I produce outside of the stuff that I upload to YouTube, be sure to follow me on my Facebook or Instagram. The links to those are in the description box below. I try and upload every day on those sites, and occasionally I upload video footage to those sites as well, such as real-time footage of me drawing and also really short hyperlapse videos of my completed work. So yes, I think that summarises all of that, and now we can start talking about the drawing. This piece is a commission piece completed in a variety of colour pencils on Canson Mi Teintes pastel paper. I do believe that's how you pronounce it, at least. It's Canson Mi space Teintes. I think some people pronounce it Mi Teintes or something, but I don't think that's quite right. I've looked up a variety of pronunciations at least, and it doesn't seem like an easy word to pronounce. Anyway, I digress. I chose a warm medium grey paper for this portrait. I really like the results when I choose a paper colour that is harmonious with the colours present in the subject matter. And considering the subject matter's fur and jumper is on the warm side of the spectrum, I think that it would be great to use a warm coloured paper. So the way that I completed this piece was I used the Derwent Drawing pencils as a rough base. I went in first and blocked in the highlights and the shadows to start off with. The Derwent Drawing pencils do a great job of creating a smooth base, on top of which I used the Faber Castell Polychromos. If you're interested in seeing a demonstration and review of the Derwent Drawing pencils, I will leave a link to that in the description. It's my previous upload. So as well as the Derwent Drawing pencils and the Faber Castell Polychromos, I also used Derwent Studio pencils on this piece. I didn't use many because of the Derwent Studio seemed to be plagued by light fast issues, so I only chose the pencils that were the most light fast. I used the Derwent Studio pencils for the fine details and fur detail towards the end, and I chose these pencils over my Polychromos for these details because I'm less worried about sharpening them. Because they're quite old now and I only really use them for the finer details, and they also hold a sharp fine point for quite a long time because they are such a hard pencil. So alongside these pencils I also used the Derwent Artist's Black and White set, which is a small set consisting of 3 whites and 3 blacks of varying shades. I also used my trusty Caran Luminance white pencil, and I used this pencil for highlights where I really needed a strong opaque white colour. So aside from those pencils, I also used 2 different brands of blending pencils. I used the Derwent blending pencil, which I really like because it's very soft for a blending pencil and works very well with the Derwent drawing pencils. And I also used Koh-I-Noor Hardtmuth blending pencil, which was, you guessed it, a lot harder. And I preferred this one for smaller areas I need to blend out and blending over some detail that I put in to make it less harsh. Overall, I really recommend using blending pencils with this paper. Even though I'm using the smooth side on this picture, I really found it necessary to push the pigment into the grain of the paper because the paper grain is kind of sandy feeling. And once I've got all my colours where I want them to be, then I can go in with a blending pencil and smooth out the whole area. I don't like using odourless mineral spirits on the Canson Mi Teintes paper because I find that it really limits the amount of layers that you can put down. I'm not sure why that is with this paper, but I also find that the mineral spirits soak into the paper quite quickly rather than being able to be spread around on the surface. The only time that I used odourless mineral spirits on this drawing was to try and remove some of the wax bloom developed with the blending pencils. That's probably the biggest disadvantage of using the colourless blending pencils, is that essentially they are just a wax stick and you'll end up with wax bloom quite quickly. As for the reference photo and the subject matter is Oscar, who is an Abyssinian cat. He's a lovely cat. He's ginger and I think he's a little less than a year old. He's harness trained and he likes going outside on a lead. So the reference photo that I'm using was a photo of him taken outside when he was on a lead, and he's wearing a Gryffindor burgundy and gold coloured knitted jumper. So the reference photo itself was absolutely beautiful because it was taken outside and in natural daylight. It was really easy to see the highlights and the shadows of his face. Nothing in the picture was over or underexposed, and I don't think a flash was used. The picture taken was in very high resolution and I could see every hair and the detail was just perfect. It was just such a great photograph to draw from. If you're interested in seeing the reference photo that I used for this drawing and also a bunch of other gorgeous pictures of this cat, I'll leave the link to his Instagram page in the description box below. Aside from cropping the photo, I made a couple of other adjustments. The first was to remove the lead from the photograph. Because he was outside and on his harness, there was a leash coming out from the top of his head, so I removed that. That was fairly easy to do. The other adjustment I made was to his jumper. Towards the side and bottom of the drawing, I reduced the contrast and amount of detail present so that the most contrast and detail would be towards his face. And that has the purpose of directing the viewer's eye towards the face rather than being led off the page. Overall, I found the most difficult or challenging part of the drawing was his jumper. Part of that is probably because I haven't really drawn much knitted stuff before, but it was quite tricky to strike a balance between enough detail to make it look like a knitted soft jumper, but also not having so much detail to distract the eye. And to finish up, I used a white Posca marker to add in some whiskers and some of the highlights again. So the commissioner gave me essentially free rein over this portrait commission. I thought that it was really lovely that she had that much trust in my ability, and from what I gathered she was over the moon with the finished portrait. I'm also really happy and proud of how this turned out. I'm really pleased with the balance between softness and detail in this piece. I found that working on the tone paper made it far easier to achieve the contrast that I was after, especially in the paler side of the spectrum. You'll definitely be seeing more portraits like this on tone paper from me because it was so much fun to complete. So I think that's all I have to say about this drawing. Don't forget to leave a like, and I'd really appreciate it if you could give me a suggestion of which challenge I should give a go for my 100 subscriber special. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.